Despite ongoing global challenges, 2020 saw a triumph for American diplomacy, with the Trump administration broking a series of historic peace deals in the Middle East. The United Arab Emirates and Bahrain were the first to sign on to the agreements known as the Abraham Accords in September, officially recognizing the Jewish state of Israel. The government of Sudan normalized its ties with Israel in October, and Morocco became the fourth Arab-majority country to establish diplomatic relations earlier this month. Let's bring in Cliff May. He's founder and president of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Cliff, first, let's explain why this happened when so many people for so many decades said it was impossible.
A number of contributing factors. One that is very important, I think fairly obviously, is the Islamic Republic of Iran. It has long represented an existential threat to the state of Israel. We know that, but it also represents an existential threat, perhaps more imminently, to the Saudis, to the Emiratis, to the Bahrainis. Pretty much all what I would call the pragmatic and pro-American states see that the regime in Tehran has hegemonic ambitions, wants to be, is neo-imperialist. They control Lebanon through Hezbollah. They've bolstered and supported the Assad dynasty in Syria. They have Shia militias that are still attacking Americans in Iraq. They support the Houthi rebels in Yemen. They've messed around and supported the Taliban. And by the way, al-Qaeda members are living one less as well in Tehran. So they understand there's a common enemy with Israel.
All right. So there's the Iranian unifying force. But how important was the United States' role here in asserting that, in demonstrating its support for Israel, for example, throughout the Trump administration, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, recognizing the Golan Heights, and then backing the Saudi government in the Yemen war, for example?
Yeah, those were all absolutely building blocks in this, no question about it. And also the Trump peace plan. Why? Because the Trump peace plan, which Mahmoud Abbas, the head of the Palestinian Authority, was unwilling to negotiate on, allowed the Israelis to consider the possibility of extending their laws, extending sovereignty, annexing, some would say, parts of the West Bank. The Arabs didn't want to see that happen. The idea came up, why don't you trade something important for the Israelis, like actually moving from covert good relations to serious, open diplomatic relations for the first time in a generation. All that was very important as well. And also, the Arab states recognize that if you look around and say, who will stand up to the Muslim Brotherhood and to the Islamic Republic of Iran? Well, there's the United States and there's Israel, which also has significant military capabilities. Which one of these cannot pivot away from the Middle East? It's Israel. This is an important relationship that had been developing covertly, but it was time to bring it out into the open. And also, with the next administration, for the Arabs and the Israelis to go and, if you'll excuse the phrase, sing from the same hymnal when they talk to the next president about what kind of deals he should and should not make with the mullahs who rule in Tehran. Whether he'll listen or not, we don't know. President Obama certainly did not. Right.
Well, now the peace plan, the Trump peace plan, did hold a hand out to the Palestinians. They could have gotten into this had they wanted to. And was their denial? Did that make it easier for the other Arabs to say, you know what, you missed another opportunity?
Yes, absolutely. What's often not recognized, and this is two important points. One is the Palestinian Authority went to the Arab League and said, will you denounce the Abraham Accords? The Arab League said no. Same Arab League that in 1967, at the end of a war that was meant to drive the Jews into the sea, issued the three no's: no recognition of Israel, no negotiation with Israel, no peace with Israel. At this point, they said not. So you're talking about now the Arab-Israeli conflict is essentially at an end, but the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is not. The difficulty here is that when people talk about the Palestinian cause, what do they mean? If they mean what Hamas means, the Palestinian cause being the destruction of Israel, the pragmatic states no longer want to see that happen. If the Palestinian cause is a two-state solution, meaning two states for two peoples living peacefully side by side, that's different. But again, Hamas will never accept that. And Mahmoud Abbas has been unwilling to be unambiguous and say that's where we should go. I don't think at the age of 85, Mahmoud Abbas does not see himself shaking hands with Bibi Netanyahu on the White House lawn, either under Trump or under President Biden. The Arab states realize that, and they're essentially sending a message to the Palestinians. We'll back the Palestinian cause when it's transformed from the destruction of Israel to a genuine two-state solution.
Cliff,
that was under... Yeah.
We got about 45 seconds left. What is, how endurable are these? How long are they going to last? And do you think the Biden administration will try to build on these accords?
I think I'm hopeful the accords will certainly last. Maybe it's different if you had a revolution and suddenly you had a pro-American and very different regime in Tehran. Maybe if the Muslim Brotherhood disappeared. Until then, pragmatic Arab states and Israel have a lot of interest in common. The Biden administration should build on this, not reject this. I would hope that Jake Sullivan, new national security advisor, Antony Blinken, who's probably going to be the Secretary of State, will understand that. But I think the left wing of the Democratic Party will not be in favor of that. And can Biden stand up to them? I don't know.
All right. Thank you, Cliff May. Appreciate your coming on. When we come back, our hits and misses of the year.